So for our review of Split Fiction, we're doing this slightly differently to our other reviews. Split Fiction is a game that has to be played cooperatively. The developers Hazelight they've carved themselves out a bit of a niche with games that have to be played cooperatively, with the immediate predecessor, It Takes Two, and the one before that, which was A Way Out. Now, I played both of those games and Split Fiction with my brother, Chewy, who is with me now, who is a filthy casual. Is that not correct?
That's correct. Chewy, also known as Christopher.
Okay, yeah, get that real name in there. This is your big moment, don't waste it. We played through and really enjoyed A Way Out, which was a prison break between two guys. Its sequel, It Takes Two, it just didn't grab us in the same way. Split Fiction did to a larger extent, actually, which is a good thing. Let me just quickly explain the plot, actually, even though the plot is so inconsequential, you do forget about it whilst you're actually playing the game. You play these two women, they don't know each other at first, Mio and Zoe. I couldn't tell you which is which, so we actually rechristened them to Sci-Fi Sally and Fantasy Fanny, who were those, basically their names correspond to their respective genres. And that is really something that is played into well with the game. Because once they get sucked into this machine, the plot is a bit crap, I should point out. Once they get sucked into this machine that's designed to rip off all of their ideas, they basically get caught in the same pod and start basically running through each other's sci-fi and fantasy stories. The plot is rubbish. And I should point out, for a game that is basically about stealing people's ideas, a lot of the environments are really highly derivative of other things. Did you find that? I mean, the sci-fi kind of looks very Tron-like. The fantasy is it all been done mostly with Tolkien?
Yeah, it's all very derivative, absolutely. It's, Game of Thrones as well. They've got dragons in it, and
yes, there'd be dragons. It did feel a bit like they put all of their creative juices into the gameplay itself, which I suppose isn't really a bad thing. It would have been nice to have a decent story there, but the gameplay is what saves this game to a large extent.
I agree. I think they come up with the gameplay, the mechanics and all that, and they're trying to find something to wrap it around.
Something I did notice as well when we first started the game is the graphics, not quite low poly, but they're very, very simple. It does mean the game runs quite well on a variety of things. I've heard it doesn't run that brilliantly on the Switch. But it does run at a very high frame rate. The visual design is actually quite nice, but the overall graphical style is fairly simple for a game released in 2025. Would you say that hit with you as well?
I agree. It's not photorealistic, but then again, it's not very low quality.
It's not quite low poly, no.
But I think they've probably gone for the smoothness of gameplay over photorealism.
Now, something that I found perhaps more with A Way Out, less so with It Takes Two. A Way Out was quite casual friendly. Now, this is something that will hit harder with you. I imagine a lot of people who are playing a game like this, I imagine it's going to be initiated by the hardcore gamer, and they're probably going to rope in someone who is either less experienced with games or an out-and-out filthy casual. However, this game does not feel as though it makes any concessions whatsoever for someone who is not extremely used to fairly high-level gaming.
Absolutely, yes, because you've got all the controls on the control pad that your casual gamers aren't used to. I'm used to up, down, left, right, and fire.
Well, you use mouse and keyboard a lot because you are a PC master racer. I will give you that. In Chewy's defense, he is actually playing Cyberpunk at the moment. Doesn't get more hardcore than that. But yeah, you did struggle a lot. It did. There are accessibility options, and I did actually. I don't know if you're aware of these, but I did actually set all of these before we started playing. So you can tone down the damage that enemies do to you. You can there is a skip function, so you can skip to the next checkpoint. I don't like using stuff like that because you're basically skipping chunks of gameplay, but we kind of had to do that. I'm not going to lay...
Twice, was it?
Yeah, maybe twice. And in your defence, I'm going to say at least one of those was because I don't think that activity was designed very well. There was something about it. It didn't feel like something was triggering properly. We were trying to do damage to a boss. It just wasn't happening. We tried everything and we just gave up and skipped to the next bit.
It wasn't obvious what we needed to do.
No. There was one bit where you just couldn't, for some reason, parachute in between these two legs. I was looking at my phone for 25 minutes when you tried to do
that
it.
was largely to do with I'm used to flight simulator controls, and up, down, and were inverted for me. Then when I tried to correct it so up and down wasn't inverted for me, I think I slightly got used to the opposite way round. So either way, I couldn't cope with it.
Yeah, you see, I think this is probably not just a filthy casual problem. It's a very, 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 very veteran gamer problem, because back then some games were inverted, and that's why some people have to invert their controls now. But the trouble when you invert controls is it inverts it for everything, and not it's in the mind of a filthy casual. It's not all intuitive, is it?
Absolutely, and of course some of the in-games are so different from each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes a flight simulator control in my mind would work better, and other times up meaning up would work better as well. So I couldn't find that sweet spot.
But that diversity was really a very, very good thing. You very rarely did the same thing twice. I cannot overemphasize actually how many ideas are in this game. Yes, the story's crap, but in terms of the actual gameplay, every single level has you doing different stuff, and it's quite a lengthy game as well. I think we're playing for around about 15 hours, even dragging you along behind me. I mean, as much as it was a bit like driving Miss Daisy the video game, there was so much variety there that it kind of almost made up for that in a way.
Yes, and all stolen genres as well. But quite indicative of the background story as well. Where he's trying to steal people's ideas, isn't he?
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's almost meta in that respect.
Yeah.
They're stealing ideas whilst stealing ideas. It would have been nice if they could have just exercised a bit of originality with the scenarios in addition to the gameplay. I mean, I know it's the gameplay that counts in these games, but I don't know. Maybe they only have so much mental capacity to land these things. Something I did like about this game, and I think this is true of Hazelight's previous games as well, you only have to buy one copy of the game. So you can play the game locally, in other words, the two of you. It's always in split screen, even if the other player isn't local to you, even if the other player is playing the game on their own PC or console and you're connected up, but it's still split screen.
It needs to be for certain aspects of the game.
That's right, because you quite often actually have to see the other side of the screen, so you can control things for the other player, so they can reciprocate for you. But the way it works is one of you buys a copy of the game, and then the other player, say it's Steam, you can download a free version of the game from Steam. That will only work if someone with a paid version invites you to play it with them. I think that's a really nice idea because it is, games are expensive now, and having basically one game between the two of you, I think a lot more co-op and multiplayer games could take a leaf out of Hazelight's book.
It forces you to co-op as well. You can't play it by yourself, whereas a lot of those games you can play by yourself and you co-op optionally. So then you would need two copies, perhaps.
Well, yeah, that's right. You literally cannot play this solo. I've got a mildly funny story about a way out, which is probably completely out of place in this review, but I'm going to tell it anyway. When I was going to review A Way Out, I can't remember who for, it was a long time ago. EA sent me a review code. I redeemed it to the Origin, or whatever they call their app now. And then I think it was literally 3 days later, I went to play it, and it was like, no, this is a review copy. It's expired. I was like, 2 days. I mean, I've never, ever had an expiring review code before.
Maybe it was very short-lived. It didn't have the longevity in it, did it? It was crap.
Well, no, that Way Out was actually better, I think, than It Takes Two. But no wonder EA had to sell themselves to the to the Middle East. But anyway, I digress. Something that I did really notice, I probably noticed it more because I was playing with a casual. The difficulty curve isn't really a curve. It's all over the place. Most games start off easy and they get gradually more difficult as you get better at them. But this is sort of easy, bloody hard, easy, bloody hard, easy, bloody. It was all over the place.
I found the end easier than I expected it to. Normally the end
Final boss was so
ramp
easy.
it up. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
I mistakenly thought I was falling out the filthy casual category then.
you thought you were becoming hardcore?
A little bit.
Maybe that's what they were going for. They wanted to make the likes of you feel better about your aging skills. So I've already said that the story's a bit crap. So are the characters. The two main characters that you're playing, Zoe and Mio. I couldn't tell you which is which. They're just as annoying as each other. You've got this spiky American bitch. You've got this overly wholesome English irritating cow with a fat ass. They hate each other at first. You just know they're going to gradually get to like each other as the game goes on. I must confess, the only part of the plot that didn't wrong foot me, I thought they were going to kiss at the end. It didn't happen.
I was just about to say the same.
Yeah, that was a real surprise. But I just feel the relationships and the characterization of Hazelight's previous two games were so much better. A Way Out were those two guys who met in prison. Prison really bonds people anyway, in all sorts of ways. These two guys had a really interesting, and I don't know if you remember the ending of without going into spoiler territory, but.
No, I can't remember how it.
Okay. That hit hard with you then.
It did. I didn't realise we played all the way through it.
Yeah, no, we did definitely complete that. It was a really memorable game.
It was a few weeks ago.
It was a few years ago. And It Takes Two was a divorcing couple, which I thought actually the relationship between the couple was much more interesting than the game itself. The total opposite, split fiction in a way.
And I like the world, the environment they got caught up in as well. Like
yes.
They were sort of like rag dolls or something, weren't they?
Yeah.
It was. Yes,
that was actually a lot more inventive
yes.
than Tron World.
Yeah.
And
they
Tolkien
sort of shrunk
World.
down like the borrowers, weren't they?
That's
so
right.
They were living in the smaller world where everything was massive.
So I don't know what possessed them to go with these two characters, because they are a real chore to spend 15 hours with. They are so annoying. Yeah, I mean, although there is a skip for the gameplay, maybe you should actually just be skipping the cutscenes instead, because the story, it doesn't get better, and those two don't get any less annoying. You just want to slap them all the way through. Just put your hand into where the little split screen is and then vibrate it backwards and forwards, so you're ultimately slapping them on each cheek. It's quite painful. I want to talk about the sound as well. What grabbed you about the sound?
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, right,
It's just really bland. Although at least with the graphics, at least there were some kind of visually arresting design there. But the sound, and I do include the voice acting in this. The voice acting is not great. It's I don't know whether they've just got the developers to just quickly knock them out in the back of a booth, but it all just feels a bit cheap and perfunctory, and that'll do.
Yeah, well, I suppose they focus on the whining characters.
Well, anyway, I think we should wrap this up. So, starting with the pros, this is a very cooperative game, which is still relatively rare enough in the games industry today to be a unique selling point. Imaginative visual design, which is directly related to the huge variety of cooperative activities. It really is one piece of original gameplay after the other. You won't have seen a lot of this in co-op gaming before.
And I've not seen much at all being a filthy casual. So,
exactly.
So a lot of this was new to me.
Well, it's all new to you. It's a very decent length. We spent around 15 hours, give or take. You only need to buy one copy of the game to play it. That is really fantastic. If you don't buy a copy of the game, you can use Parsec. Look into that. There are extremely useful accessibility options, especially useful if you're playing with a filthy casual, such as damage reduction and skipping to the next checkpoint. Well, let's have a look at the cons, though. Well, these are useful because the difficulty balancing is all over the place. It doesn't start easy and get harder, it just jumps around. If you're playing with a filthy casual, like I was, expect to be skipping quite a bit.
But not that much.
Well, depends who you're playing with.
Depends how patient you are.
Oh, I'm not very patient.
There we go.
But I did actually think the ability to have swapped control of the characters would have been really helpful.
That would have helped, yes, because sometimes with a character would take on a very hard part of the gameplay, whilst the other was just strolling along.
Yeah, and I could have just you could have done like my easier bit, and I could have just got you through the bit that you're struggling with.
Although it does, I guess it's that's kind of shared fairly evenly throughout the game, though, isn't it? The difficulty hard per character.
Well, yes, it is, but it would still be nice if the more competent gamer could occasionally help out the less competent one with the bits that are quite hard, so you don't have to just do the sledgehammer to smash a walnut of skipping it.
Yeah, it saves you missing something that's going on.
The story is boring. It doesn't really develop. It's so predictable from beginning to end, except they didn't kiss at the end. It's tied in with absolutely dismal characterization. A lot of the ideas in this game are highly derivative, which is ironic considering the plot is about stealing ideas. Some of the activities are flat out broken, but you do have the skip for that, but it would be nice if they were all competent enough to play through normally.
Exactly. It'd be nice if we can play it.
The two female protagonists are highly annoying. One's a spiky bitch and the other is a fat-ass whinger. The divorcing couple of It Takes Two were actually far more interesting than these two, although this is obviously the better game. The graphics can sometimes be too simple, not quite low poly, but not far off. And the ending is a real letdown. Overall, and I should point out, we're giving this 2 scores. 1 from me, the hardcore gamer / games journalist. Don't hold that against me. 70%, which on our review scale is good. And from the filthy casual, it is
75%, although I don't have much of a baseline to compare it to.
Well, you do. You played A Way Out and It Takes Two, and you're playing Cyberpunk at the moment. You played Monkey Island 35 years ago.
And Rick Dangerous even longer ago.
Oh, don't talk to me about Rick Dangerous.